Hello, it's nice to see you again. Today, I'd like to talk about setting a vision. When it comes to living a happy life, setting a vision is very similar in method to planning for the transition to adulthood, but the content is quite different. That's because in the case of transition planning for adulthood, it's a vision for the next 5 to 10 years of the child's life while the parents are still alive. Whereas the vision set in the Happy Life workshop is about imagining what the child's life will look like after the parents have passed away. As a result, in transition planning for adulthood, the main focus is usually on things like education, employment, life skills, hobbies, exercise, and friendships. In contrast, post-parental planning mainly centers on housing, legal arrangements, financial stability, and how care will be provided after the parents are gone. The post-parental relationships mentioned here are extremely important. Beyond just friendships, it refers to how to establish caregiving relationships that can actually provide care for the child with a disability even after the parents have passed away. For those of you watching this video, have you perhaps read the book A Happy Life? It seems that the book A Happy Life was written with older readers in mind at the time it was authored. So, in the preface, the author conveys the voice of love from parents or family. Like everyone else, I too want to put my affairs in order before I leave this world. And I want to leave behind a clear blueprint so that things can go as I wish, even after I'm gone. That way, when I pass away, I hope to lessen the tremendous stress and emotional shock my children will experience. I want to create a stable future for my children who will live longer than I will, especially for those with disabilities. However, putting these thoughts into action is not so easy. The author is aware of this as well and says the following. We parents rarely take the time to sit down quietly and share our thoughts about the future of our children with disabilities. But that future will inevitably come. Sometimes such matters can suddenly arise on the way home after a family gathering. One of the children might casually bring up the issue in passing, only for the conversation to quickly shift to another topic. One night you might suddenly wake up and resolve to talk about it together in the morning, but by the time morning comes, you've completely forgotten. And even when you finally try to take action, you often feel lost about where and how to begin. That's why the author created the personal future planning introduced in this book, focusing on several essential elements to help such families. In particular, it emphasizes very practical aspects, such as wills and trusts, to prepare for what happens after the parents pass away. Parents with young children rarely consider the possibility of their own death. Nevertheless, the author encourages parents to pay attention to wills, trusts, financial preparations, and building a support network for their children from an early stage, as introduced in this book. Now let's talk about Chapter 1, Setting a Vision. The vision referred to here is a picture of the future that we hope for and that our children desire. It's about figuring out what you want to achieve, setting goals accordingly, and clarifying your vision. However, when you actually try to write these things down, it's not that easy. To help with this, the author provides several questions in Worksheet 1. In other words, you write by imagining that you are no longer here and picturing how your child will live. Let me read the questions from Worksheet 1. After you have passed away, imagine the best day in your child's life that you ultimately dream of. What does it look like? What worries and fears do you have about your child after you are gone? What is the most important message you want to leave for your child? What would you like to ask of the family members who will remain to take care of your child after you are gone? What is the most important thing you want your will executor or trustee to do for your child? If you had to name 3 things you absolutely want the person caring for your child to know about them, what would they be? What do you think is the most important thing you can provide for your child to ensure a happy life? These are the kinds of questions being asked. In reality, just filling out the worksheet won't immediately give you a clear vision. But the important thing is to take that first step. As I mentioned earlier, this book focuses on preparations for after the parents' passing, such as wills, trusts, and inheritance. Since you may still lack knowledge in these areas, things might not be very clear yet. Even so, as you work through the worksheet, you'll start to get at least a vague idea of what you need to prepare. And once you finish reading this book, you'll have a much clearer understanding. Worksheet 2 contains questions to help you create a profile of your child. It covers your child's and family's personal information, emergency contacts, health-related matters, government support, leisure and hobbies, and other additional details about your child. When filling this out, I recommend being as detailed as possible and including as much information as you can. It would be helpful to note what your child likes and dislikes, which areas require special attention and support, and even words or actions that should be avoided. It's perfectly fine to include things that make you wonder, do I really need to write this down too? When preparing something like this, it's hard to complete it all at once. So it's best to draft an initial version now and then add to it from time to time. Even so, it's not easy to do this frequently, so updating it once a year or even every 2 years is perfectly acceptable. If you have records accumulated from the past, it's even better because you can see how things have developed over time. Many people only think about these things and find it difficult to actually put them into writing. However, if there are no such documents after the parents have passed away, those left behind will have no way of knowing how to help the child with disabilities. After the parents are gone, there will be no one left to ask. If your child is able to communicate to some extent, it's less of an issue, but if not, this is a document that absolutely must be prepared. The contents here serve as a guide, and in addition, leaving as much information as possible about your child is invaluable to those who will care for your child with disabilities after you are gone. You should prepare this document, keep it together with your will, and make sure to inform the person who will care for your child after your passing where it is stored. The author says that many parents keep putting off this kind of future planning. The reason is that it doesn't feel like a crisis yet. They think there is still plenty of time left. Planning for the future is too draining, both financially and emotionally. I don't know whom I should ask for help. There are hardly any people who can help me. I'm already exhausted from dealing with so many big and small things. I just want to take a break. I'm still young. Thinking about the future feels overwhelming. I'm the type of person who tends to put things off. That's how I've lived my life so far. In particular, the author advises not to try to do everything perfectly. It's okay if it's not perfect, so just do your best with what you can do right now. And since plans can be adjusted according to the situation, the important thing is to just get started. If you're watching this video or reading this book, you've already taken the first step. From here on, I plan to continue introducing the next chapters and sharing my own thoughts as well, so I hope you'll start by simply following along. Thank you for watching until now. Next time, we'll be talking about building relationships. Thank you.